over. The race got underway in October. It will finish in June of next year. It takes in 10 stops around the planet. It starts in Spain and it finishes in Holland. There are quicker ways of getting from Spain to Holland than going all the way around the world. And we're really thankful that they've planned the route in the way that they have, so that it incorporates a stopover in Cape Town. I've had the privilege, and I say it's a privilege, of being on a vessel that is pulled into Table Bay Harbour, and I can only but imagine for these sailors as they make their way around the planet, this is perhaps just one of the better harbours, one of the better bays to be pulling into with that mountain backdrop. It's absolutely spectacular. But it's an event that is steeped in history. It's an event that has grown in leaps and bounds since its infancy in the 70s, and I think there's a lot that local event organisers can take away from this mammoth international endeavour. So for the next while, let's prime our thinking and let's focus on the Volvo Ocean Race. There are two people in the main that I'm going to call forward, involved in different aspects of laying on this event, but I think there's some key learnings to be shared. So the first then is the CEO of World Sport South Africa. So I'm going to ask please for a warm welcome as we call forward Mr. Bruce Parker Forsyth.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I just want to make one point. Last night I was called and told that the setting that we had was the boatyard to show you a little bit about the Volvo Ocean Race. The boatyard is essentially like a Formula 1 pit lane where the 7 boats come in and they take them off and put them on the hard, they strip them down and they rebuild them within 7 days and put them in the water. So it's quite a fascinating setup. And just to contextualize, it takes around about 18 days to come from Lisbon to Cape Town, of which the sailors sleep roughly 4 hours on, 4 hours off, depending if they're tacking or not. They eat food out of a packet with desalinated water. They have the ablutions in the open where everyone can see. They've got mixed crews, so it's a little bit tricky. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is they have quite a tough time. But I was told by the team that it's going to be very hot in the boatyard, so we need to move the venue. I thought, well, that might be inappropriate, being that these top sailors have just suffered 18 days to come into Cape Town. So I hope you're all cool and relaxed as part of it. My job really is to set the scene for 2 people, one being Megan, going to come up just now, who's the head of sustainability from the Volvo Ocean Race. What Volvo did was said, yes, we are the Olympics of sailing. Yes, we are the premier yacht race. We're the high-tech. We're the best sailors in the world. But if we are that, then what are we doing in terms of thought leadership? And what are we doing in terms of using the platform that we have called the Volvo Ocean Race? And what they did was, essentially, as they said, was Volvo Ocean. It is the ocean. What is the issue around the ocean? And obviously, big issue around the ocean at the moment is plastics. And so the whole theme has been, how do we actually use the Volvo Ocean Race to change people's thought about plastics and what aspects of the race can we use, which we'll go through and Megan will go through in more detail. When we came to Cape Town, we said to Megan, that's great, and we will do the plastic things, but actually water is our big issue at the moment. So how do we actually take the expertise that the Volvo has and what Megan and her team has with our local team, and what do we do in terms of water and water education? To give you some idea, I've got the footfall from our various areas where the Volo Ocean Race is spread, is essentially dropped into the V&A waterfront. We're just on 1.2 million people that have gone into our spaces. So it's an incredible opportunity to get messages across and to communicate. And that's what we've been doing. So we tackled the water crisis, and Janneke will be talking about how we did that and how we're using the platform to actually educate and to try and help in a way. I think we're all on a learning curve. We actually contacted a company called Tono Zero, who's actually doing a gap analysis for the stopover and then for our company. We committed to sustainability. Sustainability being sustainable business model, sustainability being how do you take an event and actually spread it on a 365 basis so that you actually can create sustainable economic growth. And the sustainability is how do you act in a certain way so you look after the people and the planet. So we've committed to that, and we're doing a study at the moment where in the end they're going to give us a gap analysis and say this is what you did good, and this is what you did well, and this is how you can actually improve. And we've committed to that process, and we're learning, and then we're going to use that for all our future events. Incidentally, the reason why we're doing that is, first of all, it creates a different communication platform, gives you something else to talk about. Secondly, if you've got that platform, the chances are that someone's going to want to get involved in it. And I see, for instance, we've got the Dutch Council here, and sustainability is very important to them, and in terms of the Dutch mission coming, and we basically partnered with them in terms of the local sustainability program. So now we had a platform and a partner, and the end result is the event was more profitable, so we ended up with a triple bottom line. So by expanding our thought process and actually looking at different content and doing things the right way, it actually created an opportunity for us to grow. So that was the overall message I want to give through. So what I thought I'd do is just, before I set up for Megan, is just contextualize a little bit the Volvo Ocean Race in case you guys don't know much about it. So a little bit of introduction, but more importantly, why the Volvo Ocean Race, and then what have we actually done, and then hand over to the team who will talk about special stuff. So for those of you who don't know, the event has come, as Alan said, since 1973. There's been 13 editions, of which Cape Town has done 11. We're the only stopover to have done that amount. The two were in the dark years when they actually went to Rio. But the event has come back, and what we've done is sit down with the city and province and different key stakeholders and said, okay, we have this platform, we have the history, and how do we actually create a long-term plan? What is it that we're going to be actually doing? Yes, it's a yacht race. Yes, it's high tech. Yes, lots of people come, and the economic impact figures are big, etc., etc. But what actually is it? So the Volvo Ocean Race, in the end, is actually in the ocean sector, and in the ocean leisure sector, and in the boat building sector. So how can you actually use the event to end up, and in the end, we have a 365 opportunity to drive those sectors within Cape Town. So a couple of things have happened. We spent this week negotiating with the Volvo Ocean Race to say, guys, we can't go year on year. We have to have a long-term contract. We actually want to have a 3-stopover. We want to have a 10-year, because then we can actually put plans in place, which includes permanent infrastructure, permanent ocean racing academies, a South African team, which we hope to then eventually have in the Volvo Ocean Race, link up with boat builders to say, how do we encourage people to come down? How do we use the Volvo Ocean Race to promote the fact that, listen, if you like ocean racing, we are the southern tip of Africa. We have access to the Southern Ocean. We have great facilities, great boat builders. Bring your boat down here to race. Not only bring your boat, but bring your super yacht. And by the way, when you're down here, we have the best boat builders and best repair yards, so why don't you repair it and create jobs? So those are the type of things we do, and we build in a whole industry around a major event. So the event, in the end, once every 3 years, is a highlight and a spotlight to say, review, celebrate, and dream going forward. So it's a point in time when we say, okay, where are we in this sector? What have we done right, and what are we going to do? And that's roughly the plans that we'll be doing. So to give you some ideas how it fits in, I think the triangle in the middle is common to all us event owners, but in the end, there's various objectives, where there's destination marketing, economic impact, job creation, nation building, skills development, community development, business development, and leadership. And ultimately, those are the various objectives that you can have, and we sit down and write a strategy for every single one of them. And every time the Volvo comes, it changes slightly. And then we analyzed the whole the platform for ocean racing and said what races are out there, what fits us, and what should we be going for. And in the end, we've chosen in the short term to focus on the Volvo Ocean Race, because it actually drives all those. But eventually, when we get our 365 approach, we'll go start coming down and actually say we can fill our portfolio by looking at all these type of races. So what is the Volvo Ocean Race? Yes, it is a yacht race, but it's also an adventure story. It's a human story. But the big thing what everyone says is there are 2 races. There's a yacht race that goes around the world, and there's a business race that goes around the world. So the companies and the governments and key stakeholders are involved. Ultimately, when the event comes into town, it allows you the ability to try and achieve other objectives. And those objectives are sort of multiple and dependent on what you're actually trying to actually do. But in the end, the yacht race is the sport, and you've got to, before you have a sponsorship strategy, you've got to have a sport strategy. Grow the sport, and then you've got something that you can grow, that you can actually use. To give you some idea of numbers, I mean, in the end, it's roughly a 480 million, 500 million roadshow, and the beauty of it is that that roadshow comes to Cape Town. It starts about 2 weeks out before they arrive here. They're here for 3 weeks, and we get the glow for another week. So that is the roadshow that comes, and in the end, it's up to us to say, how can we benefit from this? What can we actually do to maximize the impact? What we haven't done in South Africa is we've essentially bought the franchise for the Volo Ocean Race, which is a stopover. But because we don't have a team in the race itself, we're effectively losing out on 11 other opportunities, which doesn't make sense, because there are 11 other stopovers that we should be trying to achieve our objectives. In very simple terms, if you put a South African team in and say that's our objective, we would love to this weekend, as a Blitzbokke happening, we would love and dream, and that's where we want to go. We want to create a South African ocean racing team that is like the Blitzbokke, that are incredibly good at what they do, they've got a great culture, they represent us around the world. But in the end, when they go to 11 other stopovers, they're there to sell our government and our business objectives. So to put a boat in, give you an idea, it's going to cost you about 10 to 12 million euros to put a boat in. But in the end, if you've got 12 stopovers, what you're actually saying is you're going to make 1 million euros profit each stopover, and you've actually paid for it. So if you're a South African businessman and you put a consortium of people together where it's government and business, and you've got to go into a town, all you've got to do is beat 1 million worth of turnover. If you can't do that, you shouldn't be in business. So that we're missing that platform, and that's the next phase, to say, how do we actually use the Volo Ocean Race to drive beyond the fact that we of actual stopover. This just gives you a stats again on why we do it, and in the end, what it's really saying is the reach of the Volo Ocean Race, the type of people that are involved, the level of education, the level of money behind it. It's a big event followed by people who've got lots of money, and it's an opportunity for South Africa to, first of all, sell their goods and services here, but as I said, when you go around the world, to try and actually build on that. This gives you some idea of the history of Cape Town and how we've been in it. It used to be that when the technology wasn't so good, the boats actually had to stop here, because by the time they got roughly down the Southern Ocean, they were actually pretty broken, and they had to stop. Nowadays, with technology, Cape Town can't rely on the fact that we are historically people who know how to organize an event and we know how to fix boats. So in the end, if we don't add value to the Volo Ocean Race, it won't come here, and it's an open bid process which we actually go through, and hence why we've gone into negotiations on a long-term partnership with the Volo Ocean Race. I think in the end, we probably will end up having a permanent Volo Ocean Race presence in Cape Town to actually achieve all their objectives and Cape Town's objectives. That gives you roughly the route. So from Cape Town, they go through to Melbourne, and then they head up to Hong Kong and then China, and then they go around the world. But that gives you the route that's going this time around. So here comes to the sustainability issue. In the end, and I said the Volo Ocean Race said we've got to do more, and what they're focusing on, and Regan will talk about it, is actually minimizing the footprint, maximizing the impact, so using the Volo Ocean Race to communicate, using the stopovers to communicate, and then looking at legacy and what that actually means. But in Cape Town, we took that further. We said, fine, what can we actually do to back it up? So with the V&A Waterfront, who is the partner to the stopover and extremely important role player, and Andrew's in the room here, and Andrew drove the program. But ultimately we said, how do we actually use sustainability, and how do we communicate, and how do we involve the general public? Some people might not be interested in boats at all. They're not interested in the boat. They think, okay, I like major event, I'll do something, get entertained. They might just be walking to the waterfront to shop. But ultimately, in the end, is we can use the message in terms of Volo Ocean Race and sustainability, and how do we then get that message across. And we did various programs, and we're still doing it at the moment, which is from beach cleanups to innovation competitions about sustainability, to film festival, to TED Talks, and then to co-create, we did a design competition using plastics. You had to use plastics, and we did that with various artists. But as Alan mentioned, we've also done, the Dutch mission came out here, and they were here for 4 or 5 days, talking about focusing on sustainability. We had the Regional Ocean Government Conference, and this is kind of interesting. I think for the last 30 years, the conference has been in Paris, and because the Volvo Ocean Race was in town, we managed to negotiate with them to actually move their conference to Cape Town, and that was in partnership with the International Ocean Institute, which sits in Kirstenbosch, and I didn't know they existed. I subsequently found out that they are incredibly well respected in terms of the sector. They are thought leaders. We got hold of them and said, okay, come, let's actually get these guys to move out of Paris, which they did. And we ended up with 180 people who are actually driving what's happening in the oceans and the thought leadership, and they were here and they're interacting with Cape Town and with Cape Town's intellectual and procedural bodies, but also our ocean warriors, guys who are out there actually doing things. So one of our thought processes, and to it to Megan, and she had a smile, is that in the end, the Volvo Ocean Race is talking and doing and getting people to change the process in ocean economy and sustainability, and we're actually in Cape Town doing it. We're actually got people out there that are actually running projects. So we give them a platform to expose them as to what they're actually doing, and the fact that Cape Townians and Cape Town is a leader in terms of sustainability. And then the two issues in addressing plastics and addressing water, which Megan and Janneke will talk to. So in the end, what we sat down and said, okay, what is our two main objectives here in terms of the actual stopover? Yes, the boat's got to come, we've got to organize, we've got to get it all done. Yes, we've got to have economic impact, etc., etc. But what do we want to take away from this whole stopover? And in the end, it's saying, guys, we've got to end up making sure that the world and Cape Townians understand that in terms of ocean racing, and then by proxy the economy that comes behind that, the ocean economy, that we are the gateway to the Southern Ocean. And we've got to grab that spot, and we've got to own it, and we've got to brand it, and after that we can actually grow this whole sector. The second thing is we've got to let people know that in the end, Cape Town is a leader in terms of ocean sustainability and incubation in terms of thought process. And those are two things that we're trying to get out of it. So we've got the 2-day ocean conference starting tomorrow. The Volvo Ocean Race organizes a fantastic ocean summit, but we said we have so much content and so many people in Cape Town are playing in this space that we're actually going to move it to a second day. And the second day is actually all about what Cape Townians and South Africans are doing. And the whole Ocean Summit is about inspire, empower, and act. And in the end, bringing all these people together that play in the sector to have a common cause and a common vision going forward. That's roughly the program. Just move on, because Megan's got no time. And in the end, it's all about partnerships. So it's a public-private sector partnership, the city, the V&A waterfront, ourselves as a delivery partner, and then all the various key stakeholders. We sat down 3 years ago and said, okay, what are we trying to achieve? Who's trying to achieve what? How can we help each other? And then the next slide is, in the end, is okay, who got us there? So various people that are on that slide ultimately had an objective that was similar to ours. We went and matched the objective, and we formed partnerships. To me, I don't believe that you can grow as an event. I don't believe that you can achieve real sustainable objectives unless you have partnerships, unless you understand what your partners actually need. Thank you very much.
All right. I guess the speaker has made reference to a colleague who's going to be joining us. So Megan Jones is the Sustainability Program Manager at Volvo Ocean Race. She's a consultant, she's a trainer and auditor and author, manager in event sustainability. And a third book on the issue is due to be released fairly soon. So next week, in fact, there we go. She's currently working, as we've mentioned, as the Sustainability Program Manager for the event. So for the next while, the spotlight is on you.
Thank you. Yes, I do need to click up. I like to drive my own slides. Thank you. Oh, it's yellow. It wasn't yellow on my computer. Yeah, so as mentioned, I'm a sustainability or sustainable event specialist. And I've been doing that for about a decade or so, probably about 15 years, either working in the consulting space or, focusing on specific events. My background is mainly great big music festivals. So they come with a whole extra set of complications going from a green or a brownfield site. So if there's any festival producers out there, you know what I'm speaking about. So this event, working on Volo Ocean Race, is for me the most amazing platform to push sustainability, both from cleaning up our backyard, as in getting the events house in order, as well as using the event as an amazing platform. So as Bruce said before, when we worked out our sustainability strategy, we worked out that first, of course, we need to minimise our own footprint. So our own impacts from energy, waste, water, transport, GHGs, the operational aspects of the event, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. But secondly was, well, actually I've got them around the other way, but to maximise our impact. And that is, how can we use the amazing platform of Volo Ocean Race, especially the virtual platform, the viewership, for good. And thirdly, of course, to leave a lasting legacy. So I'm going to go through some of the more operational aspects, because I'm sure the event producers in the room are interested in hearing what are the nuts and bolts of what we're doing. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to go into every single detail, but I've just pulled out a few things for you. So we chose our mission. Obviously, ocean health is straightforward go-to. So if any of your events out there are looking to, really harness the event for good and looking for sustainability traction, I say clean your own backyard up, of course, but find your cause. And so ocean health, but with a focus on plastic pollution, is our main point. Ocean health has got a huge kaleidoscope of potential subject areas, and we definitely touch on all of those, but we've decided on plastic pollution to be the single message that we're going with. And so we need to work through that from a comms point of view, as well as from an operational point of view. Clean Seas is our campaign of choice, and it's an umbrella campaign run by the United Nations Environment. And that isn't to the exclusion of other, the literally thousands of ocean health and plastic pollution type campaigns out there. But of course, by latching on to Clean Seas, we've got a team in the race for Clean Seas, and we're putting the Clean Seas Turn the Tide on Plastic message across, every square inch that we can find in the race, physically and virtually. So from a sustainability department point of view, we're very pleased to be able to get our message across the event in such a massive way. As Bruce mentioned, ocean summits are really important. This is part of our Maximise Our Impact. We're bringing together sport, science, government, community together and in the one room to talk about this issue. And if you have any time tomorrow or the next day and you haven't registered yet, please come. You may get some great inspiration and contacts and context for your own events as well. We've got an education program also. So this is our Melter School, so it's added value to our program. So we have online as well as workshops on site. We have a youth academy, so young people sailing, and we push the sustainability message through that program as well. We know that it all comes down to the kids and future generations, so we're really focusing in on those. We also have the Globe, which you may see at the end of, well, you will see at the end of Jetty 2 when you go down to the waterfront. There's a 20-minute film in there, and we've got 3 sustainability sections of that film. So if you're interested in the history of the race and also our mission around plastic pollution, please go in there and have a look at that. But that is one of our major on-site activations to get the message through to our visitors around plastic pollution and ocean health. So operationally, the Race Village, the minimise our footprint. That is a lot of my role, working very closely with the stopover organisers, so World Sport in this case, but casting forward across the world, looking at what are the primary operational, mainly environmental, but also expanding out obviously into social and economic sustainability. What are the issues that we need to factor in our planning in each and every destination? And so we've need, of course, to look at how we're going to stand by our word of plastic reduction. And so I'm imagining each and every one of you that work on an event can see how much plastic is used in an event. Every delivery coming in on a pallet is wrapped in plastic, every item's wrapped in plastic, every item within a box, within a box, within an item is wrapped in plastic. So production plastic, particularly film plastic, is a major one for events. And I see that particular item being missed and lost to landfill and lost to circular economy at events. We're lucky in that the V&A is an existing venue and has an excellent waste management process in place. So here at this event, I'm thrilled that we can get our production plastic waste into the recycling systems. But most other events where you're hiring either a dry hire and you have to bring in your cleaning contractors or a greenfield or brownfield site, production plastic gets missed and it ends up in landfill. A lot of places don't want that soft plastic in their waste stream, so you need to put some extra effort into that. But that's one that we're focusing on around the world. The water bottle issue was mentioned before. Clearly it's a complicated one here in Cape Town because you know, we don't want to draw down water resources from the municipal mains for drinking water. Likewise, we wanted to stand by our plastic reduction mission. And so, of course, Blue Water was an amazing solution, and we're thankful to them and also our major partner, 11th Hour Racing, for making that happen. But Yannicka is going to speak more to that. And the Blue Water team are in the room, so you can accost them at the break. We worked out if we are giving water refills for free to our visitors, that we should be saving literally millions of single-use plastic bottles. Plastic is made to last. It shouldn't be used for an item that's going to exist for 5 minutes and then thrown out. So we're travelling with these water refill stations, and then of course here in Cape Town we've got the Blue Water stations, which are recycling water into drinkable water. I would advise all events, if you want to try and go plastic water bottle free, you need to decouple your profit making from water sales. That's a tricky one, but it's the only way you're going to be able to get off bottled water is if you don't have that as a profit stream for your vendors, your bars and your other hospitality partners. The bottle exchange will be explained later. A little one, so here in Cape Town we don't have the big food court, the trader row that we do at many of the other events, but at the other events where we've got temporary catering, public and hospitality, we are very strict on our serviceware, and so one of the things we do is ban straws completely. We're obviously, just back to the straws, we're obviously very, very careful with the disposable crockery and cutlery and making sure that that matches with the waste systems. Another one which people will be thinking, how on earth do you do an event without a cable tie, without a zip tie? We've put the challenge out and we put all of our branding out without single-use zip ties, so we use bungee straps instead. So if you go down to the waterfront, you'll see how we've attached all our branding. That's quite a miraculous thing for events. Anyone here in the room involved with sticking up branding will know that most of the guys out there have got clutches of these zip ties, and we've avoided 300,000 in our event. So that is definitely a solution that I would suggest that you also latch onto and challenge your suppliers. We've got engagement on site as well around our campaign. We're asking people to sign up to Clean Seas and to make their commitments to plastic reduction. And we've also got messaging on site. I'm not quite sure why everything's coming up yellow. It must be something to do with Mac to PC, but rest assured my signs are not all bright yellow out there in real life. So one of the things we realised, of course, is we need to do drought messaging here and water conservation messaging. So you can see a quick sign there, but if you're down on the waterfront, you can have a close look at that as well. Some other things, PVC, we don't want to use vinyl on our branding, so all of our branding is PVC. Where we've got our own food, control over our own food traders, so if we've got a temporary set of food stores, etc., we're pushing the local organic thing. Seafood is an obvious one for us. We can't be selling unsustainably harvested seafood, so sassy is a no-brainer here in South Africa, but the same for around the world. In Brazil, there's no sustainable seafood program at all, so we're working with WWF to see how we can kickstart something in the Itajaí area that we're visiting there, so that's really exciting. Renewable energy, where possible, we're obviously drilling right down into where is our mains coming from. If we've got generators, can we use biodiesel? In Lisbon we had solar arrays, so where we can, we're obviously looking at maximising our renewable energy supply. Something that we did for anyone who's involved in supply of energy to their events will be interested, you can talk to me afterwards or email me. We've done really detailed energy monitoring of all of our structures, so we know rather than guess what our energy requirements are. So that's really important where there's not enough mains and they need to put in additional power, either auxiliary or beef up the main supply. So we know the effects energy-wise on our HVAC in our temporary structures, and we're able to give really detailed energy information to our stopovers and energy wranglers there. So if you've got any specific questions about energy supply to events and efficiency, etc., I'd be happy to answer them via email or give you some contacts of people who know how to do this stuff really well. And so we talked about our scientific program. Maybe you've seen it in some of the media recently, but we're using our voyage around the world also as a bit of a scientific expedition. So we have three aspects to that, and this is part of our legacy. We're collecting data in the oceans, and this next leg from Cape Town to Melbourne through the Southern Ocean is going to be collecting scientific data that just hasn't been collected yet. So we're looking at sea surface temperature, we're looking at meteorological data, and also really interestingly, like this is kind of groundbreaking, looking at the levels of microplastics in the ocean in places where it's never been monitored before. So one of our boats has bespoke scientific equipment on it, and it is going to be collecting this data up. So we've done 2 runs now. At the Ocean Summit tomorrow, or the next day, we're going to be announcing the findings on microplastics in the oceans from Lisbon down to Cape Town. But we think the next leg is where we're going to be really able to release some quite incredible data, and the scientists are very, very eager to grab this info. So I'd love to have a scientist on board. We've got journalists on board who are taking, like an onboard reporter who are taking photos and footage and stuff. I'd love to see a scientist, but I don't think they've got room for one. So maybe we'll have to get a sailing scientist on the next run around. I pitched it like, when they send the spaceships up into space and all the scientists and teachers or whatever go on there. So I've decided we need to find some sailing scientists as well. So that's the next one. We've also got a sea bin. Now, I think that the local Ran Marine version actually eclipses our sea bin. So if you come to the Ocean Summit tomorrow, you find out about Ran Marine's amazing drone that they've got going around in the water. It's all GPS and automated, and it collects ocean plastic up off the surface. And then when it's full, it knows where to go and it goes back to base. So we've got like a little version of that that's static, but these things are running around the world with us. So if you go down and have a look over the edge next to the Brunel boat on our pontoons, you'll see this thing in action. But if you're at the Ocean Summit tomorrow, you'll also see the big version of that, Ramarine's version, the local version, in action as well. It goes without saying, for sustainable events to occur, you need to get in all of your stakeholders. And here, the host city, so do we have a fertile bed in Cape Town to stage a sustainable event? Well, the answer is obviously yes. Do we have a delivery partner who's engaged and interested? In this case, absolutely, without question, yes. However, we know that as we go around the world, every city is in a different situation. So we need to adjust our expectations as we go around the world, but we're very thankful that here with the V&A, with the city and with our delivery partner, we've got, you know, perfect combination of stakeholders to be able to drive a really well run and sustainable event. Our teams and our visitors are also critical stakeholders in that. And of course, without our sustainability partners, none of this would be possible. So while we had the vision at the start, we needed to work out how we're going to put it into action, because you're all probably thinking, oh, where do you get the money from to do all of that? Where do you get the time? Where do you get the people, the resources, the knowledge? All of that needs to be in place. Don't try and do sustainability excellence as like wedging it into your everyday. You need to give it some special attention. You need to have the people dedicated within your team, not just, oh, you're the green person. You need, as an event company owner, to give that person the space, the time, the knowledge, the support and the resources that they will need to get this happening. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to be coming out of an existing line item. It gives an amazing platform for partnership. And we've proven with our sustainability sponsors that we can draw in a significant amount of funding and support from both foundations, which I think is an untapped source of revenue for events who are, you know, primarily interested in these topics, through to companies who have got their own sustainability platforms and are looking for a real life way to express that. A lot of products and companies, literal companies, are products on the shelf, or they're virtual, you know, it's insurance or it's a bank or something, and they don't have a physical thing that they can latch onto and events off that platform. So by adding the sustainability element to your event, you can absolutely draw in sponsorship and partnership money to then do the good stuff that I like to deliver as part of an event. So yeah, quick plug. My book comes out next week. I put a photocopy of or a printout of a media release in the back there and a couple of my cards. So if you're interested in the full length and breadth of every possible subject to the tune of 400 or 500 pages, get yourself a copy. Thank you.
All right, we've built a few minutes into the program for some questions to either of our speakers so far. So if there are any of the delegates who'd like to pose anything to Megan around sustainability, or to Bruce just on a more global scale around eventing, you're more than welcome to do so. We've also had a few delegates join us over the course of the last while. So a special good morning and welcome to the team from Volo. I know they've filled out the venue quite nicely, and I know a number of members of the Consular Corps have joined us also since our first welcome a bit earlier this morning. So if you are one of those delegates who arrived a little bit later than our scheduled start, please consider yourselves officially welcome. All right, any questions? We've got a roving mic. I'm going to ask if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself, not only to the person you're asking it of, but to the venue. So who you are, which organization, what structure you're with.
Good morning, my name's Justin. I'm with Musenberg Festival. We don't have the strength of platform of resources, money, to reach like we've reached. And yet our analysis of the situation around sustainability, and particularly the use of plastics and such, is that a message must start being held that it's the production, it's in the line of production of plastic items like plastic bottles, which is critical to turning the tide. And us as consumers are often given too much responsibility and we take it on, that we are the cause of the pollution in the ocean. We don't have a choice in many instances. You go to the shops, you've got to buy something that's wrapped in plastic. Plastic can be created out of biodegradable products. Are you thinking about that angle, that as a high-level campaigner, bringing that message into sustainability dialogues? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Yep, I like that. So the Ocean Summits is our platform for that. We recognise that getting the industry and also government regulating various aspects of the plastic use, absolutely. So lobbying and inviting and encouraging participation in our Ocean Summit and discussion is something the key there, from supermarket chains through to environmental ministers. Yeah, most definitely. That's where we're thinking that we can have an impact. So that's why we set the Ocean Summits up. We believe that cleaning up isn't the solution. It's obviously something that needs to happen, but it's plastic reduction in the first place. So Musto, who's our clothing sponsor, they, as many merch companies do, would have wrapped everything in plastic. So they've not just for us, but in their entire company have changed their packaging policy and have drastically reduced their packaging. So there are things that you can do. I've seen a campaign where it's a call to unpack all of your groceries and give the plastic packaging en masse, all of us, back to the supermarkets. And then they have to push that back to their suppliers. So there is some, people action that can happen as well. I'm obviously quite militant personally on it. I'll go thirsty. But yeah, we've worked out that at the Ocean Summits, that's our forum for that.